What's up, everybody? I'm Steve, and welcome to Jerome's Chrome. I've made some decent progress on this old neglected 1978 Corvette since I got it 6 weeks ago, and I've also run across some issues along the way, which is 100% expected on a project like this. I've learned a lot in 6 weeks, and I still have a lot of questions, but this week I'm hoping to dig in a little deeper and get a few more answers. And chances are, I'll find a few more problems too. The plan for this week is to get a fuel pressure regulator installed to get the fuel pressure at an ideal range for this carburetor. I'm gonna check the cooling system to see if there's any leaks, because this thing has been half empty and running on water in freezing temperatures. I'm gonna install a temporary tach to kind of help me with dialing in the carb and future tuning. And if things go right, maybe I'll be able to dial in this carb a little better to where it idles good and doesn't smoke as much. I'm not sure how much I'm gonna get done this week with the holidays and work and family commitments and things, but there's only one way to find out: get to work. So between the last video and now, I remembered that the last time this cooling system was filled, it was filled with jugs of distilled water in a parking lot after a radiator hose blew. And that's cool, except for the fact that it's been like 10 degrees here. So I decided I should probably get a little bit of antifreeze in there. So I got the shop vac out and I vacuumed up all the rust that I could possibly get out of the intake, slapped everything back together, and I put 3 gallons of antifreeze concentrate into the system, started it up, and just ran it for a couple minutes to kind of get it circulating because it was 20 degrees last night. I think there's a chance I might have a radiator leak with this car, but it's hard to tell right now because I spilled antifreeze while I was doing it, and I just need to get it to a different spot on the floor and clean up the mess I have under there before I can really tell. And also, while I had everything at top dead center, I grabbed a piece of chalk, made a nice fresh new timing mark on my balancer. I'm still not 100% sure what's up with the balancer, if it slipped or if it's the wrong one. I'm about to measure the balancer right now and see at least if it's a 6 3/4, 7 or 8-inch balancer, so I know which one it is. But either way, I found top dead center, I put a new mark, I have a new top dead center mark on that balancer for now. Once I measure this balancer, I can order some timing tape, put on the balancer, and that will allow me to eventually be able to dial in the total timing instead of just the base timing. But for now, the base timing is pretty close. Close enough to where I think I can move into dialing in the fuel. I put in a fuel pressure gauge, this little dude right here, but it's running about 7 to 7.5 at idle. And from what I've read and from what I've seen in the comment section, it's ideal if this carburetor is at like 4.5 to 5.5. So I'm gonna put in this Holley fuel pressure regulator to be able to dial it back a little bit so it's not getting flooded out with fuel. And I'm hoping between that and twiddling around with the air fuel screws on the front, this thing won't be running so rich anymore. Then after having the fuel dialed in and then installing a temporary tach and being able to, see the RPMs at idle, might have the chance that this thing is running a little bit better by the end of the weekend. So I'm just gonna get started by putting in that fuel regulator. So here's what I'm working with. Holley fuel pressure regulator. I got this Permatex thread sealant because thanks to the comments, I have now learned that fuel lines and thread tape do not mix. And then a couple of 3/8 hose barbs to go on each side of the fuel regulator. Let me get this open real quick. Regulator, shiny, sweet. Probably shouldn't have done that. Bracket. Some mounting hardware. And some instructions. And I always appreciate instructions. Well, these directions are really just absolutely pointless. I think I'm just gonna put it right in here on this inner fender. Yeah, looks like a good spot. The fuel line, which is right here, is already kind of naturally going over there, and I don't really know where else to put it. Well, that's where I'm going to put it for now, right here. And if that's a dumb idea, please let me know in the comments. Let me know where I should have put it, and I could always move it. These are the self-tappers that go into wherever you're going to mount the bracket. And then these go into there. But I guess as you screw them in, they make the threads in there as you do it. Okay, so that goes there. Nope, so that goes there. Nope, that goes there. All right. Okay. I think I found the spot. Really? What is happening? Self-tap. You have one job. That self-tapper didn't tap very good, so now I got my own self-tapper from the collection. We'll see how that works. Get out of here, wire. What do you even go to? What is that for? Plugs into something that's not plugged in. What is that? Tap. 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 That's something I might need to address if I ever lower this vehicle to make sure that the self-tappers aren't digging into the tire. But at this point, there's plenty of room in there. Bracket installed. Now, just got to put the regulator in the bracket. Flathead. I don't understand flatheads. I don't understand why they still exist. All they do is slide out of there. I don't understand why we use a flathead and not Phillips every time. Self-thread. Got one halfway in. Let's get the other one started. Oh yeah, that's in. Solid as a rock. There we go. mounted to the inner fender. I got one, my fuel line goes in here, fuel line goes out here. I can adjust it from right here. Things on there pretty solid. So I think we're good. Just got to hook up the lines now. In retrospect, I probably should have put these in the unit before I installed it, but here we are. Ooh, it's warming up in here. It's 41 degrees. Probably take this coat off soon. I'm not going to pretend I know how much thread seal to use. I'm using that much. Uh-oh. Really? Really? So yeah, it's too small. I grabbed the wrong one. It says 3/8 on there, and I was like, yeah, 3/8, that's the one. But 3/8 barb dot 1/4" NPT male. I think I need 3/8 barb dot 3/8 inch NPT male. So, time for another trip to the parts store. I think it's about the 6th or 7th time in the last 3 or 4 days. I'm gonna go to O'Reilly so I can get one of those Coca-Cola Classics in a bottle. Well, I'm back from O'Reilly. They didn't have the barbed, but they have 3/8 to 3/8 fuel line fitting. So I assume that that's going to be just fine with some hose clamps. I'm going to have to move this thing. I got it installed right here to where it's all hitting against this thing, wire harness thing. So I don't think I'm going to be able to get a hose on there. This is too tight. Just got to move the whole thing down a couple inches. So I'm just going to do all of that all over again, and then I'll get back with you. Okay, second try, we're in. Got it a little bit angled and up, so it's clearing this thing. And I should be good now. Solid as rock. And now I gotta figure out the fuel line routing. I think I just pop the fuel line that's coming from the fuel pump into my fuel filter off on this side and just slide that right on, no problem. Here, I'm gonna need a little extension, but just so happens I got plenty of hose that came with the car. Let's see if I can do this without getting gas everywhere. Okay. All right, we got the in on. I probably only need like that much max. Boom. Them. All right, installed. We have fuel line running from the fuel pump into the side of this thing. We have the fuel line running from the top to the fuel filter, to the fuel gauge, to the carburetor. Everything's all snugged up, mounted securely. I think we're good to go with that. I just gotta be able to access this little screw right here. It's a little bit of a tight spot, but not too bad. And that's how you adjust the pressure right there. I may reroute things in the future, make it look better, put things in different places. I'm not sure yet, but for now, that's pretty good. That'll work. And now it's time to install the tachometer. And the reason I'm installing a temporary tachometer is because I just want to know what the RPM is for, you know, tuning the carb and all that. And I eventually want to get the actual tach that's in the gauge cluster working, either get that one fixed or replaced, but I don't want to have an additional tach just chilling inside there. So I'm just going to set it up here in the engine bay somewhere and just kind of have it to where I can easily hook it up and take it off. Maybe put like some alligator clips on there so I can just clip it on to where it needs to be, pull it off just for testing purposes only. So here's what I got, and here's the plan. I'm going to basically find the tach wire, which I think is the green wire. I'm going to hook up a basic spade terminal, whatever, connector thing to that, and that will click right on the tab on the distributor. I'm going to hook a alligator clip to the ground, and I'm going to hook another alligator clip to the power wire, which I think I should be able to clamp onto this little spot on the wire, on the distributor power wire. I taped it up, but before I taped it up, some of the wire insulator was missing, leaving some exposed wire right around there. So I'm just going to pop the tape off and alligator clip onto that. And I think that should work. So here's my super professional setup. Don't judge me, but here we go. Clip into the tach, clip onto a ground, clip onto exposed power wire, and this white one is just a light, so I don't need that. I guess I'll temporarily install this there. Good. Then green wire to tach. Just blindly stabbing. What's it feel like? Where could it be? Am I on it? Installed. Now, I'm going to very unprofessionally undo my unprofessional repair of the wire and use it to my advantage. Hopefully, unless it doesn't work. So as you can see right here on this wire, it's exposed. And that's pretty ghetto. But in this moment, I'm just going to use that and clip this onto there. And we'll see what happens. And I'll just clip that here, because I know that works. I've had good luck with that. Okay. Professional. Nah. Will it work? Maybe. I'm focused on the wrong thing right now. I'm thinking about fuel and timing, and I'm still not even sure if this cam is okay and if this timing chain is stretched or not. So before I go any further messing around with the fine details, I got a couple major things that I need to look at first. So I'm gonna pull the valve covers off of here again. I'm gonna fire it up and I'm gonna look at the rockers and see if everything just looks normal. I'm just gonna give her the old visual inspection and see if there's anything major, like a completely flaccid rocker that's not doing its thing, because if I can just visually see that one isn't lifting with the engine running, I think it's safe to assume that there's going to be an issue with the cam or the lifter, and I'm going to have to pull things apart a little deeper. So I'm going to fire it up, give it a visual inspection. If one of them looks weird, I might get out a little measuring tool, hand crank it, see if I can compare it to any of the other ones that look good. But hopefully I just fire it up and everything looks fine in there. We can just move on past that and check the timing chain real quick. So basically there's just a way to look at the slack in your timing chain by looking at the play in your distributor. And I'll explain that a little bit more if we get that far. So yeah, I'm just gonna fire it up and watch the rockers rock and see if anything looks horrible or not. So I'm just popping off the valve covers. These hot rod valve cover spiky things are pretty awesome to have whenever you're pulling off your valve covers repeatedly. It just makes it a lot quicker. Pop the PCV. Should have room here. Quick visual. I'm just gonna fire it up. And once I get it started, I'll grab the camera and bring you in there. Sprung a little coolant leak from the water neck there because, well, I didn't put a gasket or any RTV on there. I was just like, maybe it'll last long enough to get through this, but it didn't. I should have known better. I could have very easily just got coolant down there in my heads. I don't think I did, but that's pretty close. Dumb. I think that went okay. I didn't see anything catastrophic in there. There wasn't, one just sitting there vibrating, doing nothing or anything. They all seem to be lifting and doing their thing. If you don't know by now, you should. I'm not an expert on this. So, if you saw anything in there that is a red flag, let me know. I'm not making any final decisions on how that went until I read through some of your comments, but as far as I'm concerned, that went okay. Okay enough to move forward and check the timing chain. All right. So here's how I'm going to check on the timing chain slack. I got the old non-functional timing mark on the balancer lined up with 0 on the timing tab. And then what I'm going to do is basically just turn it over a little bit while looking at the rotor. And basically, you just slowly crank on the balancer and then turn the balancer as far as you can until the rotor starts to move. And then as soon as it starts to move, you just mark that spot. And then you bring it on back the other direction. See how far you turn on the crank that way before that thing starts to move. And it should only be like 2 to 5 degrees either direction. So that should easily be identifiable just by looking on the timing tab. I'm not 100% sure. Let's just find out. I'm going to point you at the rotor. And I'm just going to slowly turn on this until I see it move. Instantly? That seemed like instantly. Maximum 2 degrees. Okay. I'm going to do this a couple times just to make sure. But I'm going to flip it around. So right now I'm back to 0 on the balancer and timing tab. Instantly. Yeah. Less than 2 degrees. So you can see right there that, I had that thing in that notch, that indented notch, which is 0 degrees. I moved it forward, it went like 2 degrees. I moved it back, here we are. So right here, I actually even moved it a little past where it started to move. And you can see it's still in that main groove. Like even when I moved it forward, it never even made it out of that first notch. And when I moved it back, it stayed within there too. So I'm not sure if that's 2 degrees or 4 degrees since this thing's so rusty, but man, I think that's within range. It moved pretty quick. Like as soon as I started pressing on the thing, that distributor tab started moving right off the bat. So if that test is accurate, then that timing chain's good. That seemed pretty conclusive to me. I really don't believe it. I just, assumed it was going to be old junk, but I think that's okay. You know the drill. Let me know. Did I do that wrong? Was that... I just really don't believe it. I don't know. I exploded the car again, everybody. Another dumb mistake. It's currently the day after Christmas. Merry Christmas, by the way. Hope you're having a great holiday season. But anyway, I came out here yesterday to kind of get things all buttoned up and put back together and ready to fire this thing up and end this video by getting the fuel all dialed in. But mistakes were made. When I was putting on this valve cover, I accidentally touched the valve cover from the head to one of these exposed wires that are here in the AC box. Kind of an honest mistake, except for the having exposed wires part. So that created a short, and I'm assuming from a small amount of research that fried out one of the fusible links, which is basically a wire that acts as a fuse. It's basically a small wire that protects your big wires from having a catastrophic incident, and the small wire will take the brunt of the load and it will melt completely, saving the more important stuff from, exploding. So I'm assuming that's what happened. I haven't got under there and checked it yet, but that's what I'm thinking at this point. It's just not the ideal time to get on this floor right now because there's stuff all over it. And on top of that, there's like extreme condensation happening right now. And look at this. It's like puddles of water all over the floor in my entire garage. So just everything is super wet. So just, not the ideal day for crawling under the car and doing stuff and checking for leaks. So I think that's gonna shut us down for today. I think this weekend what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get both of these cars out of the garage. I'm gonna have to push this one out. I gotta get stuff out of this garage. I gotta get this other Corvette out of the garage so I can give myself a little more working space to be able to jack this thing up and get underneath it and do things a little more comfortably. I've been working, when this car is fully pulled in, I've been working with about 4 inches of space between these two cars. So I got a little rearranging to do this weekend. And it's also going to be 70 degrees out. So when I do get this car out, I think it might be just an ideal weekend to just shut the brain down from thinking about learning stuff and doing things I don't know, and just maybe give this thing a nice second cleanup. A thorough cleanup of the interior, maybe get a little bit deeper in this paint job and get out some of this deep down stuff that's in the paint. So yeah, do a little cleaning in here and order some parts for the next round of working on the Corvette, which will definitely be getting any exposed wires on this car repaired. I'm not sure if I'm gonna go with my temporary tach on the exposed wires setup anymore. That may be asking for trouble again. And then I'm going to be installing either a new fusible link or a new wire with an actual fuse installed, which is just a more updated version of a fusible link. Not sure which one I'll go with yet. While I'm down there messing with wires on the starter, I might as well go ahead and replace the battery cables also, because I've already blew that up in an earlier video. And since I had coolant, antifreeze or whatever, leaking out of the water neck, and I don't think any got in the heads. I'm 99% sure, but I might as well just change the oil while I'm under there. It's old anyway. And hard telling what kind of additives were put in the car and the oil during the revival. So it's good to just get some fresh in there. I'm gonna make sure that the water neck situation is done right with a gasket or an O-ring and it's not gonna leak again, because that was dumb. I'm gonna get a timing tape and put on this balancer for now, temporarily, even though in a future project, I'm gonna replace that balancer with a new one. But I'm gonna do that when I replace the radiator support, because if I'm gonna be in there pulling all of this out to replace this crusty radiator support, might as well do the balancer while I have all that out. It just kind of all goes together as one project. Even though I did a few things wrong this week, we still got some wins. Fuel pressure regulators installed. I'm pretty sure the cam is okay. Let me know your feedback. And I'm pretty sure that the timing chain is okay. Let me know your feedback on that one too. And yeah, it kind of sucks making stupid mistakes in front of thousands of people, but I'm going to be making these mistakes anyway. So I'm just grateful that I can be making those mistakes with you. I really appreciate you watching. Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays, and hopefully I'll see you next week. Thanks.